She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy gazpacho.
Important to take a lame gorilla, okay?
Right, did you know that Arsenal died?
He's got me buzzing.
Up the top, it's hard to up him anyway.
I'm not even gonna comment on that.
Welcome back to Footy with the boys. After our first Pochettino, Mr. Mauricio Pochettino experience done with a 2-0 victory against Panama. We're going to review that game. We're going to preview the game in Mexico and Guadalajara. Massive game there with some names that we'll be missing as we'll get into. But Mike, first, one sentence, initial thoughts after this 2-0 win, USA over Panama.
Good evening. That was pretty epic.
What?
Okay. Nick, same challenge to you. One sentence to explain this one. Maybe slightly better sentence to explain this one.
An underwhelming debut.
Oh, that's... I want to restate mine.
Okay, go ahead, Mike. Take two.
Well, you get two
A
tries.
satisfactory debut.
That was a groundbreaking comment you needed to have.
I'm going to say underwhelming but needed result here. 2-0 with Yunus Musa. He has a 100% goal-scoring record under Pochettino. Had never scored under Greg Berhalter. Interesting. And then Ricardo Pepi off the bench, as he does, shows Pochettino that is his thing. He is a super sub, one way or another, to put it to 2-0 in this one. But as you could maybe get from our responses, it wasn't exactly, flip the switch, Pochettino's in, and we look like we're prime Barca. There was still some kinks to be worked out here, Nick. What did you think of, at least first, let's start with the starting 11, because that was certainly something that I don't think a lot of people expected. Yunus Musa out wide, and in the build-up, it was three in the back. Anthony Robinson there as the left back was pushed a lot further up. Christian Pulisic moving more centrally. A lot of different names. Busio, Morris, Aronson, Sargent, and no McKennie in this one. What did you make when you saw the starting 11? And as the game went on, what do you make of this grouping of players here and where they're playing?
I hated it. I thought it was an atrocious starting 11. The back line and goalie were basically what you'd expect. Everything else, I think, went wrong. I mean, we talked about it before the pod, but like if Berhalter put out this starting 11, there'd be riots on the streets. And so I was very confused when I saw it. I was confused about the shape. I'm sure we'll dive into some of his tactics here in a second, but I don't. If you want to give Busio a chance or Morris a chance or someone like that, I think you do one of them. You don't do both of them. I know we're short on bodies, but I would have liked to see McKennie playing there. I do think Yunus is still best used in central areas, though obviously he wasn't exactly a winger this game, I would call him, or anything like that. So I did not like the setup of it at all, outside of the freedom it gave Pulisic and the freedom it gave Jedi. The left side was one of the positives of the game that we'll talk about later, but I don't know. I was not inspired. I guess I was happy to take another look at Mark McKenzie, but that is not the guy I'm tuning in for. So not the most inspiring starting 11.
Yeah, I was thinking when I saw this that Brendan Aronson was out wide and you had a middle three of Busio, who would be playing the 10, and then Aiden Morris and Yunus Musa behind him. When I did see that Yunus Musa was out wide, it was something to me, because he played that at Valencia a bit. He played in Arsenal's academy a bit, and he even spoke after the game saying, yeah, Pochettino obviously has some interest in me. He looked into me more because he knew that I could play out wide. I don't know. Nick, is it... I know he scored a goal, but I wasn't very convinced by Musa out wide. I don't think that really utilizes his skills of how he's so press resistant, how he can dribble it through the center, break lines in the center. It's really kind of negating why you have him there. And I don't think In Morris or Busio are horrible in the center. But man, I would have preferred certainly Musa to at least add something like that to the center. It felt like he was just a bit of an extra player out wide rather than.
But
needed.
the other weird part is that like it feels like Musa, Busio, and Morris are all kind of the same profile of player, and so it felt like just such a redundant midfield. Musa, yes, then being out wide once we actually saw it. He said we're not going to do any tactics, or we're not focusing on tactics, except for Yunus Musa, apparently, who was like involved in every single piece of build-up and was shifting positions throughout. So that's going to be something to watch to see what his role actually is going forward. Is that right back going to tuck in to make that 3-back that we've seen or that we saw yesterday? I think you're 100% right. He's best on the half turn. He's best, being able to resist the press, look up and see miles of green ahead of him, and he just takes the ball with him. He's a powerful runner. So I don't know. I don't think those talents are best used out on the wing. He wasn't really like playing touchline winger anyways. So that I'm not saying that he got completely misprofiled. I like that he used them to build up, I guess, but I don't know. If that's your midfield of Musa, Busio, and Morris, it feels like it's three
But
of the
that's not
same
even
guys.
the midfield.
I know, but Musa was
You
involved
have
in the build-up a lot.
Aronson in there. He was, but that's what I'm saying is you're using him as a center mid, but out wide. And yes, you can say that's what he did with Eriksson at Tottenham, but I just don't feel like Musa really adds that much to the attack from a width perspective. I love Musa. I want him in the center. I thought that's where he's going to be starting. But if you have Aiden Morris, a defensive mid, Gianluca Busio can play in more of that 10 role, and that's what I thought with Aronson out wide. And I think Aronson can add more out wide than what Musa would out wide. But
Busio can't play in a 10 role, in my opinion. I think that's misprofiling him.
He's playing there at Venezia, and he's doing very, very well there. If he's
your chief creator, that's not what should be happening. So he's great at ball retention. I think he can find passes really well, but he's not like I don't think of him as like a creative player. I think of him as a silky player, but not necessarily breaking lines and things like that. So that's just one man's opinion. I think Aronson and Pulisic were kind of just like they got a lot of freedom. They were drifting around. I don't hate that for Pulisic. I don't think that's the right role for Aronson. He should be more of like a pressing 10 if you're going to play him there. Yeah, he's trying things, so I'll give him a pass. But it did feel like a lot of misprofiling when I saw that starting 11.
Yeah, definitely an interesting starting 11 here. Mike, one of the biggest things we were talking about going into this was the center back pairing and who would it be? Because Tim Ream is 50,000 years old, Mark McKenzie, Trusty, really all the center backs, because Chris Richards and CCV are out, don't have that much experience other than Tim Ream. He goes with Mark McKenzie. Mark McKenzie looked pretty good this one. Tim Ream alongside him, they played in a 3-player back line for build-up play, and they looked relatively solid there. Kind of made sure that Matt Turner wasn't so much of a big part of all that. What did you make of the center back partnership and the defense as a whole here?
I thought it was pretty good. I was concerned about the matchup, especially without a 6. I mean, when I saw the midfield drop, I'm like, oh,
weird.
This back line with no sort of protection, that scares me, especially with Tim Ream's pace. But they played pretty well. Aside from one time where the Panama striker got in behind McKenzie, that was pretty scary. I thought they were in the correct position almost all the time. McKenzie was particularly good. I thought Tim Ream was great on the ball. Best I've seen him on the ball in a while. And he was asked to be in some positions that are not super normal for him. Anthony was so high up the pitch that Tim Ream was kind of coming in that channel right in the attacking half. So that's pretty high for him, especially with no track back pace. I thought he did well. Didn't misplace any passes. I thought Scally looked okay. Was definitely not as advanced as Robinson, which is smart tactically. I saw what Poch was going for there. But as Nick mentioned with Musa, or you mentioned with Musa on that right wing, really was not much of an attack at all. None of those guys are super progressive players or very skilled on the ball in those tight areas.
Yeah, but Nick, that kind of brings up a point of Jedi Robinson was getting so far up the wing, and he was a big factor in the attack on that left side, and that is probably the positive of this game is that left side of attack and how it combined. with obviously creating that first goal there for Musa. But it begs the question of, once Dest is back, he's not going to be in a 3-back of possession, is he? Because such a waste of his talent. So is this just you're switching tactics and kind of waiting on this until March, or what happens here once Dest is back? Are you going back and forth with who's staying back, or do you think he completely reroutes?
I was thinking about that too, and two things came to mind. One, I love Dest. I think everyone on this podcast loves Dest for what he can do offensively. I think he's a better defender than give it credit for. Not that he's a good defender, but people I feel like just shit on him defensively because he's so good on the ball. When he's fine, he's whatever. He's serviceable for an attacking right back on the defensive side of things. So I don't think we can just rush to judgment and say he's going to be exactly like he was before, coming off of a huge injury that kept him out for however long. What's it going to be, like a year that he's going to be out? So
at least
I don't want to just pencil him in right now to be our 2026 World Cup guy. I mean, I would love to. I think he definitely would have been if not for the injury. But it's important to see what can happen without him. And then if he does return to form, if he does return to what he is, I don't think the shift is too hard as long as you get some players back. I don't understand why you can't. Again, my favorite thing about the starting 11, like you just said, was, and the tactics, which we'll go over later, is that he identified our best players by a mile, which was Pulisic and Jedi. Not that hard to identify amongst this camp right now. And he ran everything through them. Every time USA looked threatening, it was, I think, pretty intentionally tactically to get Jedi up there and combining with Pulisic. So I think you would recognize that Dest would help a lot in the buildup of play. I mean, you can just, if you have Tyler Adams at the base of the midfield or whatever, pick whatever 6 you want, they can just drop back into that bottom 3 in the build-up play, and Dest can step up. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think he can identify that, and with more time in the camp, he can get those tactics through. Could be weird defensively at times, especially on the transition, but with the guys that we have at the 6th position, I think I'd be okay with it. So there's still a spot there for him, but I think you guys are right. That 3-back did look good in the build-up, which is when we use that kind of formation. So maybe he does kind of steer away from Dest, at least in games where he's not trying to be so attacking.
I think you could see that
year
Eric
off
Dyer.
football,
Eric Dyer. Yeah, I mean, obviously right away, I don't know if he's going to be right to him, but you could do something like that. Eric Dyer playing that CDM center back / role where he drops in for build-up, and then you see both of our attacking outside backs kind of running up there, but
Dest wouldn't be up the wing, I don't think. Do you think?
I don't see why not.
I mean, I think he'd be bombing up and down, yeah. And I think certainly with, especially, you saw the issues that this midfield and I mean, I guess the whole team had with breaking down Panama's mid block, and the 2 goals come from us being a little bit more direct and not living and dying by the system. Pochettino was clear on that. Is he joked with the press conference before the game, I don't want to die with my system. I like to live, he says. He wants to not be so determined to be in a system like what we saw with Berhalter, where it was all just blueprint. Get it out wide, cross it in, small like the 2 times we got really a lot of success were direct play and avoiding that mid block. I think Dest can come also in as an outside back that can get in there and help break down blocks, whether it be a low block, a mid block, whatever we face, because he's just a nasty player in terms of dribbling ability, passing, movement. So I think that's where his ability comes in, because this midfield struggled to break down the mid block.
I mean, the midfield sucked. Let's put it.
Midfield's just never going to start together ever again.
It was atrocious. Yeah.
To be fair, we're missing basically all of our starting midfielders there. With McKennie had the knock, so he couldn't play. Musa was put out wide, so I don't know whether to consider that. And then
if Dest is
also out,
if Dest is going to be bombing up the wing, then don't you think it'd make more sense for Musa to be out wide and he can tuck in while Dest has the freedom to go up? Like, do you think like the Musa wing experiment is something that's going to stick?
I don't know. I don't necessarily want it to stick. And Mike, I guess I'll get your opinion on this. I think Musa is so good through the center at being able to be press resistant, be able to dribble through lines and break down mid blocks like we just went against. And that is his specialty. I think him being out wide and pressed up against an outside line or having to deal with being an outside presence. It just doesn't take full advantage. Like, what do you think of the Musa out wide experience? And Nick, obviously, you can chime in there.
I thought for most of the game, it didn't look great. I mean, he was isolated. They're asking him to do a lot by himself. No connecting play. And he's really not that profile of player. If you're going to have Pulisic isolated, if you're going to have Weah isolated, that's one thing. To have Yunus Musa try to do it by himself is another. I mean, obviously, he gets a goal, and he's making a run from kind of that area of the pitch. So that's a positive. But more often than not, I didn't think it was great. Some of that, though, is the other midfielders. Like, I thought Busio really didn't have any sort of mark on this game. So if he's more involved, that can make Musa look better. If we have a 10 who's actually pulling passes, getting on the ball. Like if Tillman was out there.
Busio wasn't playing 10. That was Aronson.
Well, Aronson was all over the pitch. I mean, where do you want to call Busio? Busio is anonymous.
I mean,
we'll call it that.
I mean, he was in the pivot, but they both looked bad. I thought they were both bad. Morris and Busio were bad.
Were stepping on each other's toes. I didn't see clear shape. I mean, it really lacked. I couldn't really see what the idea was.
I didn't think.
Again,
Busio
I don't like him.
I thought he at least moved the ball quickly. I don't think either of them had any type of great performance, but I didn't think that Busio looked too bad. I thought he had a few balls that were at least decent.
I'm a big fan of Busio. That was not a good game by him. I did think he looked bad. I think both of them looked like they were playing in a position that they don't play in. Like they were just kind of shoehorned in, which with 13 injuries, maybe that's what happens, you know, but I didn't love his performance. I don't think Musa should be a wing. I'm not trying to say he is. I'm just saying if this idea of you have a 6 dropping into the back 3 during the build-up and now all of a sudden Dest is bombing up the wing, well, maybe he does want Musa then to drift into the middle there and make space for Dest. And now he's playing centrally into possession and playing out wide out of possession, which I don't hate him shielding Dest like on the defensive side of things. I don't think that's a horrible tactic to go with. So maybe he's trying to get Musa ready with that. He was just dropping too deep a lot of times because obviously that's what he does. He's a midfielder. Like he helps link up play a lot. The entire right side looked bad. In fact, it didn't even exist if we're being honest. Musa's run didn't come from the right side. That goal was not coming from his side. It was just Jedi and Pulisic being better than Panama.
Yeah, I mean that does bring up a bit of discussion on performance and the subs that then came in. Tanner Tessman coming into the center, Malik Tillman coming in. Haji Wright coming in, Pepi coming in, and a lot of them did have their impact. Tillman created down that side to send it off to Haji, who then sliced it across to Pepi, where maybe he gets a little bit fortunate. It goes to the keeper's legs there, and he gets his finish. But it's a goal for Pepi. Sargent didn't necessarily look the greatest. I didn't think Aronson necessarily looked the most amazing in that 10 role, although he is a press monster, which I'm sure Pochettino likes. And like we said, the midfield doesn't look that great. How many changes do you expect to see here? Obviously, a lot of players are out. We'll get to that. But who of the subs shined here, and who of the starters do you think need to go for this next one?
I thought the only one who really shined was Haji. To me, I thought he was good when he's on the ball. I liked his athleticism, his size. I thought the assist was pretty well done. But most of them really didn't make a mark on the game. They didn't have that much time out there. I'm frozen, aren't I?
Nope, you're not.
You're back.
You're good.
Okay. I froze on my screen for a second. Yeah, I didn't really get that much from anybody. I thought Tessman was kind of okay. Tillman looked pretty good a few times that he was on the ball. And then Pepi got fortunate, like you said. He put it on frame, but I mean, it's still not a convincing finish if you look at it.
Do you want to see Pepi start over Sargent after this first game here, Nick? Because Sargent had his chance. He had the chance to open up that first goal, and he skied it on a relatively good chance there, where it's right in front of net midair.
I can't believe we haven't talked about Sargent. I think the announcer at one point said Sargent, who is currently tied for 7th in championship scoring. I was like, that's not a stat you put out there, bro. Tied for 7th? Like, shut the hell up. Sargent was atrocious, so if you want to give Pepi the start, I understand. But if you're asking me who I would rather start, you're asking the wrong guy. I'd still have Sargent, give him another chance out there. see if he can actually do it. But he'll probably look worse with the players that were sent home, if we're being honest. So whoever it is, I don't mind. Pepi got lucky to score, but that man probably needs luck to score. So we'll take a goal however we can get it. I was really disappointed. In this podcast, we spoon feed the audience as well as Flags just spoon feeds us hype from random youth international American people that no one really knows. We talk about Gaga Slonino way too regularly on this podcast for being a Barnsley player. But if there was one guy that I was actually really interested in and buying the hype on, and I thought could be someone for this team, it was Tanner Tessman. And he just stuck to the theme of meh. Completely underwhelming. I don't think he did much like that really caught my eye. I don't think he made any mistakes really, but I was very excited for him and he was anonymous out there. So that was disappointing to see. But again, I felt like that was kind of the theme of the night. The first 5 minutes were electric. Pulisic and Jedi on the left-hand side. But I don't know. It just, I was expecting more. I on the last pod, I said, I think it'll be good, but I'm ready to be disappointed. And lo and behold, I'm disappointed.
Well, we'll get into the Mexico game next and previewing that. But do you think this first game, a lot of that same feeling of, it didn't feel like there really was anybody that stood out that amazingly? Is it because they maybe don't have an idea of exactly what they need to be doing because it is so fresh with Pochettino? They don't know exactly how adventurous to be, how Pochettino wants to be playing, because they were moving the ball a lot faster. It looked more crisp. It certainly wasn't sitting on the ball or lazy looking. It was just maybe as if they didn't have an idea of the system of what exactly they needed to be doing. Because like you said, I don't know if a lot of these players made gigantic mistakes that you say, wow, such a bad game, but they also just didn't do anything that was inspiring. Is that part of it?
I don't know, because the midfield couldn't really put together passes in the transition game. Like the crisp passes you're talking about were like amongst in our own half, like keeping possession in the back line, which is a good thing to do. We didn't have a turnover that led to a goal, which we've seen many a time in this U.S. men's national team build up. So I guess you could say it's a highlight. I really don't think it was a case of people not understanding tactical. These are professional soccer players. Like they're going to go out there and they're going to give it their all. And for the most part, they should know how to get forward. Like I don't think Poch even was like preaching for them to overthink it. He was just saying go play football from the sounds of it. So I really do think it was just a lot of, and again, 13 injuries heading into this camp, so I get it, but just a lot of misprofiling and miscasting of players put into weird positions. And again, he's experimenting. It's his first game. I'm not going to overreact. A win's a win, but just meh.
Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we're kind of flat attacking wise. I mean, the link up was obviously good on the first goal, crisp 1-2 pass. But you saw a bunch of times where people weren't making the right runs. Like we'd see 4 or 5 guys crowded in and around the front post, top box, and then the back post is just like way empty when we have a ball sliding across, where that's coming down to either a midfielder not making a run or the lack of having a real right wing to make that backdoor run was pretty evident. And then I thought a lot of times you saw guys getting in like weird positions where they're forcing shots instead of having a little bit of skill, a little bit of savviness to them. Josh Sargent did it a few times. Pulisic did it a few times, where a little bit of flair in the box would be cool. And I just didn't see any of it. And yeah, I think it comes in time. I think they just need to get more comfortable with the system. I see the potential of the Aronson Pulisic back and forth. I think those two could work well together. I hope I see it again. That's the biggest positive I saw probably out of the whole game.
All right. Well, we do still have another game, so we can see what that progression will be at least a couple days past that first one and maybe be able to iron out some of those wrinkles that we saw. And it is against our biggest rival, Mexico. Unfortunately for this one, there was an announcement that came out today here on Sunday. The U.S. is losing Pulisic to load management. Pepi, McKennie, Marlon Fossey, and Zach Steffen all also going back to their clubs due to small knocks. Another 5 players injured, and we talked in the preview, the build up to the Panama game, about that injured 11 versus the actual U.S. available 11. We said, man, Pulisic is the only reason why this available 11 is better than what we don't have available. Now he's not available, along with McKennie, along with people like Pepi, and I guess Steffen and Fossey aren't exactly going to change anything. But, I mean, the amount of people that the U.S. men's national team has out right now is absurd. But we go into this one against Mexico. Nick, what do you want to see changes to the starting 11 here? I mean, there's not a lot of options for changes here. You have maybe a Tanner Tessman. You have Malik Tillman you could play. You have Brandon Vasquez and Zendejas, I guess. I mean,
Let's go, Vasquez.
Haji Wright maybe starting over for that Pulisic spot. What do you want to see here? Because there are limited options on what we can see compared to what you want.
Yeah, every guy you just said, put him in there. I don't care. Put in Brandon Vasquez. I don't care. Put him in. Let's see what they got. Again, this is not. I would like to see a little bit more of the identity with tactics and stuff. We're not going to see that. So there's no need to like spend too much time saying we hope for this and that. I don't want to see Yunus Musa out wide, I guess, would be the number one thing. But put any of them in there. I would really, I guess the biggest one would be Malik Tillman. Obviously, a little surprising that he doesn't start, giving the players that we did toss out there in the midfield that first game. So it's really, he might be the most talented player left on this team right now outside of Musa, maybe. So I would like to see him get in there and really shine versus a Mexico team that, you know, is going to definitely try to win. They haven't beat us in a very long time, and we have a C squad trying to roll in and play against them. So I don't know. I think Tillman's probably the one that has the biggest to gain, make an impression while other guys are missing. But Haji, let's get Haji in there. I guess if you want to put Miles Robinson or Trusty, one of them back in there. That does give me a question, that with Tim Ream, is he going to be one of our starting center backs in 2026?
I hope not.
Perhaps.
I mean, if you have a 39-year-old as your starting center back at a home World Cup that you're supposed to make big differences in, that's not exactly a great sign, especially because that will be 2 years now in the MLS. So you'd hope that Chris Richards, Mark McKenzie, Austin Trusty, CCV, you hope at least one or two of them can pick it up. And I think Chris Richards is already above Tim Ream right now. So
I do think it's good to have like a veteran in the team, though. I don't know if I want that veteran to be Tim Ream, but we're a really young team. I actually think I really understood why he started yesterday.
Doesn't need to be starting. I think there's a good chance he's there. I mean, the only two center backs I think who are above him in my depth chart are Chris Richards and Mark McKenzie's getting there. That's
one
still
game.
a toss-up. Well, he's
had a very good.
Tim Ream has moved back to MLS, so he loses the European argument. And then CCV and Austin Trusty, I could give a fuck less. I don't rate either of those guys. I think.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, they both are shockingly bad at times.
Austin Trusty is actually, I just saw, he's ranked the top defender outside of Europe's top 5 leagues right now. Off of
According
rating.
to what?
It's like Opta ratings. I don't know.
Instagram.
Okay, great. Let's toss him out there. There we go. Let's put Austin Trusty as Mexico and shatter the dreams of Flags, who is using.
Listen. I'm going off of stats, off of analytics. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything about him.
You saw one number somewhere,
some guy on
and
Twitter.
now we're saying he's the best defender outside the 5 leagues.
No, it was from like a whatever analytical like PFF, but for soccer type thing. But I was also surprised to see that.
I don't think anybody's locked in for Mexico lineup. I think Anthony Robinson is the only one actually. And if you don't want to run him into the ground, maybe you
load management might take him out too.
Yeah, right. And actually don't mind. I think Lund's a fine player. I like him more than Scally. He just happens to be a left back.
Oh, that's a hot take.
I like him better. I think he's going forward. He's a lot more interesting of a player.
You like Lund better than Anthony Robinson?
No, than
Joe Scally.
Oh, Oh,
No, I definitely don't like him
Yeah.
better than Anthony Robinson. I'm not
I was
going to
gonna say,
that one. That'd be the hottest of takes.
This could be the take of the year.
I just don't want to use the Dejas. That was the one sub I was like, oh, this guy sucks.
So
There's a
weird.
reason he
So
hasn't been
weird.
in the
Yeah.
roster for a while. He's a cut below everyone else on that roster.
They all
I
are.
mean, he was at the
He
Gold
sucks.
Cup, and Jesus Ferreira made him look like the Robin to Jesus Ferreira's Batman. And if you're being put in that position, that's not even
Right?
I mean, that's tough. He was supposed to be the star of that, and was pretty awful, really, in the Gold Cup. So can't say that the
Another
Dejas.
positive I don't think we talked about. Matt Turner did not have to distribute. How much better does Matt Turner look when he doesn't have to have the ball at feet? That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Just
He
recognize
did
that
boot
very,
one
very
ball
early.
out pretty bad.
he has
He'll take
always been
one.
a good shot stopper. Just let him do that, and he'll look good. If you make him distribute, that's where those issues come in, where we're not going to be looking too positive on it. But shot stopping, he looked great. He had that big double save. I'd like to see him again, just continue to get him reps because he's not necessarily getting them at the club level. And he seems like he still is that best option for us, at least in terms of the shot stopping.
This is so disheartening.
I mean, I don't think he's that bad of an. If you do what you do there of not including him in the buildup, I don't think he's that bad of an option. I think we've had backups like Zach Steffen at Man City for forever. We had even Matt Turner was a backup at Arsenal and wasn't playing all the time, and he still looked good. It's just now he's at Crystal Palace instead as a backup. So I don't think it's absurd.
I think we might just be bad. Like I'm looking at all these players and none of them are inspiring any confidence. Like
I
absolutely.
mean, we're
zero.
missing 17
It's the C
players,
squad,
which
brother.
also does not help.
I was so excited for this camp. This is atrocious.
I mean, I do want to see Malik
Hater.
Tillman in this one. I think that's a player I want to see because he is somebody that's lighting up the Eredivisie right now, doing very well, and has a chance, what I think, to be a pretty impactful player on this national team. Other than that, 17 players out against Mexico. Like, how big of a risk is it for the U.S. here to lose against Mexico? Because, I mean, like Nick said, this is basically sending our C team at Mexico. We have 17 players that would probably be in the squad and a completely different starting 11, basically, other than what Jedi and Matt Turner.
Tim Ream.
Yeah. Mexico are missing
Maybe.
a handful of players as well. Some of their better guys I know. Sure, it's a risk. I mean, it's in Mexico. It's always a rivalry matchup. Brand new coach. I still think we'll have intensity, though. I mean, I don't think Mexico's very good. I'll back
I
our
hope so.
squad. I'll back our C squad to get a result.
It's so
if I had to
weird.
predict it, give me a 2-0 win. Dos Aceros every time.
Dos Acero
Fucking
in
good.
Mexico.
On
love
the
it.
road with
Backline's
no
good
one.
Nick,
We
what
got
are you thinking
Jedi-
for this game? Because you seem a little less optimistic about the
I think
U.S.
we're gonna
on
lose.
the power of friendship.
I think we're gonna lose. I
Back
think
the
we're
dogs, bro.
guys. It didn't. I'll back them. I'll root for them all the way. How this is Mexico's biggest game, and they know they have an opportunity here. What are they like? Just below a 2-0 lead to Valencia. How is that game
They
happening?
did, yeah.
But like, I really think on the road, none of these guys inspire confidence. I mean, if Tillman starts this game and looks great, then great. We're still on the same path. If not, I'm going to put him on fraud watch, and we might have to talk about the DCA being just a joke of a league. Eredivisie, whatever the hell it's called. Because if he's lighting it up, he hasn't really looked good for the U.S. Or at least anywhere near to the level on PS that he has looked on PSV. Like I feel like he's a game breaker for PSV. That has never been the case for us in any case. So I don't think we win. I don't know what starting 11 that we can put out there that would get us to win. I think it's going to be in Mexico. That environment's going to be crazy, and I think Mexico comes out with it. They haven't won in how long? Like 6 years versus USA or whatever.
Nah, I think it's like 9 years at this point.
Yeah, insane. So they're gonna be licking their lips. I don't love the profile of this matchup. Backing the boys, obviously, but I don't think it's gonna look good.
I mean, I'm always going to back the boys. I still think we come out on this one because I think Mexico are also in a very bad spot. The U.S. coming out with at least a lot of intensity. I think they still have enough. They have a lot of talent still here. I think if we see with Musa, I don't really care who the fuck else plays in midfield with him. We see Musa, Haji Wright, Malik Tillman, Aronson.
Don't matter, Nick.
We see Sargent or Pepi. I don't give a fuck. If we see just any of these players out there, I just need Tillman, Haji Wright, Aronson.
Isn't Pepi going home too?
Pepi is going home, so we just need to see Sargent.
Yeah.
Yep. It is slim pickings, brothers. It is slim pickings here. But I still think the U.S. will get it done. Yeah, that's the thing is we're gonna have 5 players go home. We had 25, so we have 20 players. We have 6. But I mean, we have like nobody off the bench to throw in. We have a couple keepers, and then Brandon Vasquez and Alex Zendejas are some of the first options. It's not looking good.
Mexico also rested all of their like actual players that they're gonna play against the US. It's boys, I'm just saying, and I will not be too pessimistic when it happens, but I really do think we're gonna lose this game. It just who do we have? I don't know.
I do think that it takes a bit of the sting out of this matchup that really, 17 of our who would be on the roster are now just gone. That does kind of suck that we're missing basically our entire team. And if we lose to Mexico, I'll be upset because it's Mexico, but I also be like, yeah.
Every time you think about Mexico, you think about
loser mentality.
McKennie being a warrior, Pulisic yelling his head off after a goal. I don't know, Adams being a warrior. Who's going to be like the emotional leader at Mexico? Like Tim Ream's going to be clapping the boys on. Like, come on, it's going to be rough. I'm telling you. The more I think about it, the more I look at it, I am not expecting much from this game.
Aiden Morris, get stuck in, lad.
Oh, God.
This is an opportunity for players to take a starting spot. Guys who usually won't.
No one took that opportunity.
Take a starting spot.
No one took that opportunity.
And have an all-time performance against Mexico.
Who took the opportunity?
That conversation.
Last game.
Brendan Aronson, this could be your game, brother. You could light it up.
Brendan Aronson, Malik Tillman are maybe the only two that can say they'll actually get a starting spot. I don't think Haji's getting a starting spot. Who is he going to be?
He puts up 3 this game. Then he's in the conversation.
Welcome to the bench, Christian Pulisic, bitch.
Bitch.
Hold it.
Right behind, brother. Who cares if you score every game?
This is where legends are made, dude. I think it's an opportunity for a lot of guys.
I can't wait till Christopher Lund's going to bench Jedi.
It's big for keeping them on the roster is I think what this really is for. Maybe not starting 11, but you have Tyler Adams who's going to be coming back and is supposed to be available for the game on the 18th against Arsenal. You have somebody like Weston McKennie who has a slight knock, not playing right now. You have Musa playing out wide for some reason. You have Gio Reyna injured. You have all these players.
Cardoso, De La Torre.
Are not there. Yeah, yes. Cardoso. There's a lot of injuries and things that you can at least get in the team, make a claim for a spot on the roster. And with how injury prone this team is, that may mean you're in the starting 11. So I guess Mike might not be incorrect.
This last Panama game was a huge opportunity. No one took it. Not a single person.
Christian Pulisic did take it. He got an assist.
Yeah. He was on the bubble. You're right. But come on. Not a single guy who you think could maybe make a jump looks good. Not one guy.
Anthony Robinson and Pulisic locked it in even more. They added another master lock to the 12 master locks to their locked position already.
If Mark McKenzie would have scored that header, definitely locked in.
Dude needs to get in the gym and do some up downs, bro. He cannot jump.
No, bro. That should have been easy.
He just timed that awful.
He did.
But, boys, we did this before the Panama game. What do you think our reaction will be, or what do you think we're going to be saying after this Mexico-USA game? What will be the reaction? Nick, why don't we start with you? What's your prediction of what we're thinking, where our mindset is after this one?
I don't think the mindset will change. We'll still be excited about the future. I think the first words out of my mouth for the next pod will be yikes. That's what I think.
All right. Mike, Any changes in tactics you think we're going to see? Any type of betterment of our feelings around the team and players here?
Yeah, I'm sure Poch will change the tactics. I'm sure he'll tweak it.
I mean,
bet
kind
the
of has
11
to
will be-
with
yes,
Pulisic
he
out.
has to.
You can't
I
build
think
around
the 11
him.
will be tweaked as well. I think he's still going to be, taking this as an opportunity to test out some other guys, as he is so new. But I'm still expecting a result. I don't give a damn that we're down 17 guys. Sometimes that happens. You're playing Mexico. Mexico is the little brother, dude. At this point, they haven't beat us since 2019. I want to stay the same until 2026. I don't think they'll ever beat us again. It's not going to be now. It's not going to be again, dude. Take the opportunity.
Nationalism.
I'll tell you what, it will be so sweet to beat Mexico here with, like Mike said, 17 players out. It might even be more than 17, quite honestly. But that many players out, and if we still get a result, still don't lose here to Mexico, get a win, even that would be. I mean, if you're a Mexico fan, where the fuck is your hope? If the entire U.S. squad is out injured,
if you are
still
Mexico,
lose, I would be irate, brother. I could not handle it.
If you are Mexico and you lose to this USA side on home soil, when you guys haven't played on home soil in such a long time,
yeah.
I mean, all this, like, people chat shit all the time about USA Mexico. A lot of Mexico fans still think they're at least even, if not better than this US squad. If you lose this game, I don't want to hear a word until at least 2030. That's the next time I want to hear from a Mexico fan, because that is absolutely embarrassing if you lose to this team. If you draw to this team, it'll be embarrassing. Mexico should win.
If you lose to this team, it's called soccer from here on out. I mean, end of the story. It's done. It's done. Dos a cero.
Yeah. Dos a cero. I'm going dos a cero as well. I think Malik Tillman and Haji Wright get the 2 goals for me. I think Pochettino's going to get the most out of Malik Tillman. He shows work rate in the Eredivisie and gets a good amount of tackles. For Greg Berhalter, he looked like he was just out there for a little bicycle ride. He did not have a care in his mind. I think he shows out here in Mexico. Nick, what is your score prediction for Mexico, US in Guadalajara?
0-0. Whatever. We'll give the boys a draw.
Go for it.
0-0.
All right, 0-0. We take it. Let us know what your score prediction is in the comments. Subscribe. We are, I believe, 5 subscribers away from 200.
Ayo.
So please get us there before episode 200. Until next time, this has been Footy with the Boys. Peace.